Like João Esperto of Mozambique, millions of people rely on subsistence farming for their livelihood. Whether in Africa, Asia, or Latin America, these farmers depend on two things to survive: the strength of their backs and the grace of rain. For João and his wife Beatriz, feeding their children is a daily challenge, made even more difficult by the fact that both have tested positive for the virus that causes AIDS. Though their lives are difficult, we in the United States can help lessen their hardship if we keep the promise on hunger and health. Halfway around the world from João and Beatriz, Bread for the World members Edie and Denny Lott live in the Sierra Mountains of Truckee, California.
About 22 years ago, I became interested in hunger issues after taking a trip to a Mexican orphanage and in the nursery. One of the babies was walking age and kept standing at the French doors and crying. And we asked why the little girl was crying, and the young woman that was taking care of them answered, "Oh, it's because her mother visited yesterday." And we were like, "But this is an orphanage. Why is she here if she has a mother?" And she said, "Oh, she's here because her mother can't feed her."
Both Edie and Denny are teachers in public schools.
This is called the Snow Lion, and it's by...
I can remember when I changed careers and became a teacher, and right at the beginning, I really didn't know what I was doing. And I was sitting there with 36 or 38 pairs of eyes staring at me, and in a particularly tough math lesson I was giving, a little boy in the back of the room raised his hand and meekly said, "Mr. Lott, my stomach hurts."
He looked down on the ground.
And I, of course, didn't know what to do, whether to rush for a wastebasket or call the office or send him home or whatever. And to make a long story short, I found out that the only thing that was wrong with this child that was, at this point, keeping him from learning anything was that he was hungry.
Hunger and poverty go hand in hand in countries like Mozambique, where per capita income is only $210 a year. Mozambique is located in southern Africa along the Indian Ocean. It's a large country, twice the size of California. In 1975, Mozambique won independence from Portugal, but in the process the country's infrastructure was destroyed. The country was further decimated by a civil war fueled by Cold War allegiances and foreign money. Peace finally came in 1994, and since then, Mozambicans have built a vibrant democratic society and earned international acclaim for their sound economic policies and effective use of foreign assistance. But today, these successes face a new threat: the pandemic of HIV/AIDS. 1 out of every 8 people in Mozambique is HIV positive, including João and his wife Beatriz.
What I want for my children is that they can acquire an education. Since I don't really know how long I'll be able to be with them, how long I'll be able to take care of them.
João and Beatriz have 4 children, ages 2 to 12, but feeding them is difficult. Because the couple are both HIV positive, they get tired easily. And when they are tired, it's hard to work in the fields.
HIV, AIDS, and hunger, they are very, very much connected. And it is a kind of a vicious cycle. As the parents get sick, they can't work, they can't farm, and so it is not only the disease itself, but the hunger also affects the families.
To help families affected by HIV, AIDS, and hunger, U.S. foreign assistance funds a wide range of programs throughout the world, from agriculture to education to healthcare.
World Relief volunteers, one of their main objectives is to really bring hope within these families that are hopeless.
I am not the only one who is suffering from HIV. There are a lot of people who are suffering, even though they don't want to admit they have the disease, and there are a lot of people who are suffering from hunger.
In addition to helping people already infected with the AIDS virus, U.S. foreign assistance also works to slow the spread of the disease through sponsoring skits like this one, performed by a youth drama club at local churches. Bringing frank conversation into churches about HIV and AIDS is one way to help people like Beatrice and Joan feel less ostracized.
Practically the whole Bible, if we look at it, it's about relationships, it's about caring for one another. For this year, one of our scriptures, Romans 2:11, where we say that for God there is no exceptions of people. We are all made in the image of God. It is our obligation, especially as Christians, to care for our neighbors who may be near or far from us.
Far from Mozambique, but close in spirit, Edie and Denny also use skits to convey their commitment to fighting hunger and AIDS in Africa.
What are you talking about? Do you realize that almost 6,800 people die every day of AIDS in Africa?
Wow. I'm sure we'd do something fast if that many of us were dying every day.
Do you realize what you just said?
Huh?
You said if that many of us were dying. Denny, they are us.
Following the skit, Edie and Denny ask the parishioners to participate in Bread for the World's letter-writing campaign.
Well, we give a lot of money in our church for hunger things, and I believe in that too, because it's kind of like a Band-Aid on somebody that's bleeding. If you can't stop the bleeding, you aren't going to have that person around. But if you can't change systems, you aren't going to keep that person from being hungry on a long-term basis. And I really believe in advocating for change and for funding through governments, because it can multiply what I can do many times over.
We're commanded to care. The central core of our faith is not about ourselves, it's how we treat other people, how we respond to their very, very basic needs. And the most basic we have, even above shelter, is what we put in our stomachs to keep us alive.
It hasn't all been for nothing. Hunger in the world is way, way down. Starvation is down. The numbers are phenomenal. We are making a difference.
And we can continue to make a difference in the lives of families like the Espertos in Mozambique. But to move forward, they need our help. In 2004, people of faith across the United States will stand with people around the world to ensure that the promises our country's leaders have made will be kept. Please join Bread for the World's Offering of Letters campaign and urge Congress to dramatically increase U.S. foreign assistance targeted to alleviating hunger, poverty, and disease. Then we can all say that we've helped keep the promise on hunger and health.